Okay. Okay. We have already talked about the attribute closure, and I have already given some example that how to use the attribute closure to find out the candidate key or find out the redundant functional dependency. Because already we have told you, as soon as just finding out the total complete functional dependency is really a tough thing, or sometimes it might be huge functional dependency. And after identifying the functional dependency also, there might be a lot of redundant functional dependency, and you should discard those things. Otherwise what will happen, because ultimately all the functional dependency you have to implement in the database table with the help of some constant, some sorts of constant. So if it is too many functional dependency you have identified, and some of them are really redundant because that can be implied or inferred from other functional dependency, then it basically will take long time for any query to execute or doing any other operation in the database. So it is always actually needed that you should actually drop the redundant functionality also, FD also. Okay. And another challenge is that if it is a huge table, okay, say there are hundreds attribute in a table, to find out the candidate key or super key is also very difficult. So naturally we need to first think that whether there is an algorithmic approach to find out that thing. Okay, actually here we will just discuss with the same actually help of some examples that how can we do that thing. We have already explained the concept. Today I will explain some of the some more example. Okay, we have already discussed the membership function, and we have already seen that if you really find out the closure of attribute, not the closure of functional dependency, then it is much actually easier to find out these two things: redundant FD as well as your candidate key or super key. Okay. Now let's see again. Just check the algorithm. Actually, here what is my objective to not to proof of the algorithm or other thing, because that is the other area of this thing. Uh, Only thing is that if you know the algorithm, how to use it, that is the most important thing. Actually, membership and algorithm we have already discussed. Okay, I try to show you how to use that thing to find out candidate or super key and the redundancy. Okay, now just assume for that, just take an example one by one, and then we'll explain. And hopefully after that you will anybody can actually, if we have provided a relation and some set of functional dependency, you can easily find it out. No, there is no issue at all. Say in the first example, we try to just take a very simple relational relation that R consists of ABC. These are the three attributes. And suppose in the functional dependency set, we have identified these two functional dependency. Okay, not many, because let's start with a very simple, and then gradually we just go to the complex one. B depends on A and C depends on B. Okay, so these are the two channels. So first I try to find out what is the attribute closure of A. Okay, attribute closure, if you try to find out the attribute, say suppose if my objective is to find out the candidate key, okay, then as soon as you try to find out the attribute closure of A, and in that particular closure set, if you find that all the attributes are appearing, what does it mean? It means that all the attributes are depend on that particular attribute. Okay, what does it mean? That means A is a key. Okay, so this is the way we to try to find it out, what is the candidate key or super key. We start with, say, what is the procedure? First, say suppose you assume that you are finding out the closure individual attribute which is belongs to the closure set. Okay, and then one by one repeatedly you are adding it. So I first defined a result. It is also a set basically, and started with A, because if I try to find out whether closure of A, we from the earlier your rules we have seen the closure contains that particular attribute also. Okay, that is the reason when you are initializing the result, you are starting with the attribute A. Okay, because we are going to find out the minimum actually closure of A. Okay, now take one by one your FD and examine and try to find out what are the other attributes we can be included into the closure. Say first take this thing, the AB, which actually here also which functional dependency you will consider. You will consider the functional dependency where you will find that left hand side is they consider that functional dependency with that attribute where the left hand side does not appear in the right hand side of any other FD. So in that sense, here I can choose the A, B, because this is the functional attribute where A is not appearing in the right hand side. Just see, in these two, A is not appearing in the right hand side. So if you just want to check that this FD, then what you have to do? First, you check whether the left hand side, that A, belongs to the result or not. Okay, if I find that actually A is in the result set, then you include B also. Okay, so naturally after checking this thing, this particular function of FD, what I will get that A was there initialized. With the help of initialization process, A was there because I am trying to find out the closure of A. So here we find when you are checking this particular thing as per that algorithm, I find that A is there, left hand side is already there, so I include B. So that means after this step, that means after checking this one of the FD in the set, I got the result AB. Now take the next one, because next one is also actually you may or may not sometimes you may or may not consider those functional dependency, because here if you just see B is appearing in the left hand side, it is also appearing in the right hand side. But here I am just taking it to check that whether it is there or not, and then accordingly we'll do that thing. So now let's see, take the second one. Now if you just check this thing, B is already there. Okay, if B is there, then you consider the C also, you include the C. Okay, so there is no other attribute left. If you just check that thing, that already A, B, C, these are the three attributes, everything has already included. So there is no actually, there is no need for considering any other FD if it was there. In this case, I have, for simplicity, I have only started with the only two. Okay, so if it is only two, then as soon as I got that result, the ABC, that means that set, the closure of A contains the ABC. That means all the attribute. What does it mean? That means all these attributes ABC depends on A. What does it mean? That means A is nothing but a candidate key. Okay, actually you should not very easily say that A is a candidate key. In this case you can, because A is a minimal set, because A is only one attribute, so you can say it is a candidate key or super key. I will just show you later on that there is a little bit difference, because first you have to find out the super key and then try to find out whether any minimal subset of that, okay, closure subset of that, that particular subset of that attribute is also actually covering all these attribute or not in the set. Then you have to just consider the subset. Okay, so I will just go to the next example, then it will be more and more clear. So, but here in this case we can say it is a super key as well as it is a candidate key, because there is only one attribute. So there cannot be any subset. So naturally, as the closure contains all the attribute, we can say A is a candidate key or super key. But these are different, mind it. Okay. Now consider another relation, say ABC, slightly complicated, lot of attributes are there, and these are the, basically it is not very simple relationship, it is, there are more than one attribute in the left hand side. Okay, now first let's start with AB. Okay, let's start with AB and try to find out whether AB is a super key or not. Okay, what I will do, I will try first find out the AB plus. That means the actually closer of this set AB. Then what you have to do, as AB is a, we try to find out again the AB is a, whether AB is closer, then you have to start with AB. That means you assume that AB is already there in the result. Okay, because by rule AB should be there. Okay, so naturally I consider the AB is there. If AB is there, then can consider the FD. AB is in the left hand side, AB is already there. So naturally, what does it mean? As per that particular algorithm, C should be included. Okay, so ABC. Now after considering this thing, I got the result that it is ABC. Now consider the BC and BCAD. Okay, this second one. Then let's see, consider the second one. Then BC is already there, so D should be included. A and D should be included. A is already there, so you should include the D. Similarly, if you just consider the DE, okay, DE, then we can get the ultimately A, B, C, D, E. Okay, and after that, if you just see, if you consider the next one, okay, CE, as C is there, but F is not there, you cannot actually, and B is already there, there is no actually need for, if you consider this one, ultimately what you have to do, you can only include the B, but B is already there, so you need not consider this at all, okay, because already we got this thing set. Okay, now if you just consider the closure of AB, it contains A, B, C, D, and E, not there is no F. So naturally, we can say that AB plus is not representing the R. So AB is not the candidate key because AB does not include all the attribute of this thing. So AB actually, AB here, AB closure of AB is not the full relation. Okay, that is the thing it is saying. So naturally, we can say that the AB is not a candidate key. Okay, it is better here without saying the candidate AB is not a super key rather, because we have not yet find out whether A is a super key or not. If A is a super key also, then you must say that A is a candidate key, not the AB. Okay, so here F cannot be identified any of the FDs, and our result will be this thing ultimately. Okay, then say suppose I have found out that AB is not a super key. Now how to find out whether there is any other key or not, super key or not? So for that, say suppose I assume that ABF is a super key. Now check whether the AB, closure of AB, what is the closure of AB? Now AB plus is ABCD, we have already found it out. Okay, what does it mean? It means that this set of attribute depends on AB. Okay, now since F depends on A, okay, actually this type of FD always exists. Okay, so naturally we can, if you just union these two, okay, what we will get? ABCDEF, ABF. Okay, and if you just do that thing, then what does it mean? That means ABF plus, okay, the closure of ABF contains all the attribute. Okay, that means ABF plus is the relation, it is representing the relation. So we can say that ABF in this case, okay, AB is not the super key, but ABF is the super key. Okay, understand? So you understand that if the relation is very complicated and you have found out maybe some few attributes, your FD of the relationship, then sometimes it can take longer procedure, longer step to follow to find out the candidate, actually super key, and subsequently maybe candidate key. Take another example, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Okay, and this is my set of functional dependency. I have find out how that is. That means you have to find out by just understanding the meaning of the attribute, try to find out their relationship, examining the data. I have find out some set. Okay, now let's see whether the FBD. Okay, now just see here from this set of FD, it is clear that attribute ABD are attribute only appearing in the left hand side. If you just see here, that is the reason actually for if it is set is very small, FD set is very small or very minimal set you are using, then you can check all the FD, no problem. But if it is set is very big, then naturally you have to find out which FD we should consider or we should start with. Okay, so here the one rule is that if you see that some of the attribute which is only appearing in the left hand side but not appearing in the right hand side, okay, you can take the combination of that attribute and try to find out the closure or not. Then you can say that set is basically, if you just get all the attribute from that set, okay, which is representing the relation, then you can say that set is a candidate super key. If you don't, if it is not, then you just exclude one by one attribute from that superset and then find out whether it is what is the closure of that thing. And in this process, you have to follow. Here, why I have chosen the ABD, because if you see AB is appearing the left hand side, but AB is not there in the right hand side. Just see. So IAB, similarly for D also, D is appearing in the left hand side but not appearing in the right hand side. And that is the reason I have taken the set. But you just see here, H is also appearing in the left hand side, but I have not considered that H here because H is also appearing in the left hand side. Okay, so if the set is very big, okay, given set is very big, in that case you can just apply this logic to identify the appropriate set of attribute from where you should start to find out what is the basically closure of the attribute. Okay, so naturally here what I will do, I will try to find out the closure of the FD to check whether AABD is a super key or not. Now you just see that I consider the first one ABC, so naturally AB is already there. ABD I have included because as I am considering the closure of ABD, then as AB is already there, C will be included. Similarly for ADGH, AD is already there, GH will be there. In this way, if you just one by one, if you just try to find out whether the left hand side is there or not, you just included that thing. Okay, so it's very simple algorithm. It's not a very tough algorithm. And when if you find that either you considered all this FD or you have already reached the full set, okay, full attribute set of the relation, then you can stop there because there is no need to, because you need not include any more thing. Okay, so you can stop it here. So here if you say that ABD closure basically representing the relation because it includes all the your attributes. So naturally I can say that the ABD is a candidate key. The proper বলো
স্যার বলছি এখানে লাস্ট স্টেপটা আমি ঠিক বুঝলাম না, এবি মানে ইএফটা মধ্যখানে
এটা এটা
হ্যাঁ স্যার, সেকেন্ড লাস্ট স্টেপ আর লাস্ট স্টেপ এই দুটো বুঝছিলাম না।
এক একটা করে বুঝতে হবে। আমরা প্রথম থেকেই ABC এটা বুঝতে পারছি, C is basically dependent on AB. Then as per that algorithm, what it is saying that if AB is already in the result set, then you include the C. So I have started with the result set of ABD. So AB is already there, so I will included this. That is the reason I have shown in with a different color. Okay. Now come to the second one, ADHG. Okay. So AD is already there, A and B. So HG will be included. Okay. Then AI. Now take the next thing, AI. Now you just see here one thing, AI. This is the pi FD. I have considered that A is already there, so I will be included. Then take the HJ, that functional dependency from that set, and if H is already included, so J should be included. And in case of BDEF, similarly, you can just include the EF. Okay. So in this way, I have to consider individual FD and check whether the right hand side is already included into the result set or not. If it is not, then you include. Okay, in this way, ultimately, you have to calculate the closure of the attributes. Okay, of that particular attribute. And at the end of thing, then you have to check what is the result. Here I got all the attribute of the relation. So naturally I can say the closure of ABD is what? Nothing but the relation itself. Okay. And it means that all the attribute of the relation depends on ABD. What does it mean? That means that it is a candidate key. So that is the reason I am sending that it is a candidate key. Actually, as I have already told you, I should say that it should be the super key, not the candidate key, because after that also I need to just measure something. What is that? Now I have to check what is the proper subset of ABD. If you just see, these are the proper subset. Okay, now for every subset you have to check what is the closure of that subset. If you really find that any of the subset representing all the attribute or includes all the attribute in its closure, then you should say that is the candidate key, or maybe more than one also. Okay, candidate key. Okay, and that is the reason first time when you are getting a something, you should not directly say that it is a candidate key. Okay, you should say it is a super key. And when you find that any of the subset of ABD, okay, any of the subset, if you take any of the subset of ABD and find out its closure and cannot find that the closure contains all the attribute of the relation, then you can say this is a candidate key also. Okay, but if any of this subset is basically closure of any of the subset contains all the attribute of the table, then you should say that that subset is basically candidate key, not the. Here what we have really basically discovered, if you really apply it also, okay, then you will find that all the subset AB, AD, BD, A, B, and D, these are the subset, possible subset of ABD. None of the element in the proper subset of ABD forms the candidate key. Okay, if you just try to find out all the basically closure of individual thing, all the subset, you'll find none of this closure is basically representing all the attribute of the relation, and that is the reason they cannot be the super key or candidate key, and that is the reason here I am saying that it is a candidate key. Okay, so naturally after getting that thing, if it is a more than one attribute, mind it, if there is only one attribute, then directly you can say it is a candidate key. Okay, because it cannot, there cannot be any subset. Okay, but if it is a set, then naturally you have to find out if all possible subset of that set, and then try to find out for every subset whether what is the closure of that thing, and then only you can take a decision whether is a candidate key or not. But definitely you can say it is a super key. Okay, so that is the difference between the candidate key and super key. Here also take another example, like here just say we may start checking all the left hand side of the attribute of any or all of the given set of this. We can start with the single left hand side. Okay, generally here I have started with, if you find the closure of an attribute and that attributes in the candidate key, then any superset cannot be the candidate key. Okay, that is the basically if you start with only a single thing, and if you find out that this is a basically a candidate key, ultimately if you just find out the closure, then you cannot actually any of the superset of this can be the candidate key. Okay, because that might be a super key but cannot be candidate key. Okay, so in this way, when actually anybody just try to find out the candidate key, these are the different rules you have to think it and then apply actually very intelligently, that then actually you will find that you might need to follow less step if you consider the appropriate actually functional dependency. Yeah, otherwise only rule is that you apply it for all the functional dependency and then try to find out. Okay, sometimes it might be very tedious. So here we have started, that is the reason here we have started with A plus, only single one. Say suppose A and B and F, these are G also, the single in left hand side, then I try to find out whether what is a plus. If you try to find it out a plus in the same procedure, if you just try to find out this thing, then a plus will be a d e I n j ultimately. So it is not basically representing the full relation. Okay, it is not a candidate key. Similarly, for b plus, you can just say, just try to find out the candidate key, and here also you'll find that it is not the candidate key because it is not representing everything. B, F, H, G is only the thing, closer. So now, if it is a single attribute cannot be representing the candidate key, then you just take a combination and try to find it out. And ultimately, if you just try to find it out, then we find out that this is the thing. Okay, so we can say that AB is a candidate key because subset A and B is not the candidate key. So AB is definitely a candidate key. Okay, it is super key also, and it is also a candidate key. Okay, so in this is the procedure for finding out the candidate key or super key. That means when you are finding a set, not a single attribute, is a super key, then you have to check whether the subset of that particular set, okay, also satisfy the super key or not. If it is also satisfy the super key, then subset is candidate key, not that set. Okay, so in this way you have to really pick up intelligently the FD and try to find out that logic. Okay, it's very simple logic. Okay, now there is another concept that is called the cover of the functional dependency. We can visualize that the closure of F plus as a complete set of information regarding the integrity constant. We have already discussed that. That can be extracted from a given set of dependency. So F plus we can find out if a set of dependencies. Huh? Anybody? Bolo.
Sir, what is the difference between the candidate key and super key?
ক্যান্ডিডেট কি হচ্ছে যে সে যদি একটা one or more than one attribute uniquely identify, okay, the record in a data actually relation, then we can say those are super key. There can be more than one super key. Okay, and minimal set of those super key is basically called candidate key. Okay, আর সেটাও more than one হতে পারে. And after identifying the minimal set, that means they take an example, say I have find it out the AB here, AB is a super key. That means with the help of these two attributes you can identify uniquely one record into that relation. Now this is a super key. Okay, there can be more than a super key also in that relation. Now we try to find out the B and A. Okay, if you really find the B is also able to uniquely identify the record in this that particular database, then it is also a super key. But what is the difference between these two super key? It is a minimal set. Okay, এখানে দেখো একটাই মাত্র attribute, এখানে দুটো attribute. Okay, so naturally it is a minimal set. Okay, so naturally I should say that this is the candidate key. Okay, minimal set of the super key is basically candidate key, and that can also be a more than one. Okay, and কিভাবে তোমরা primary key কিভাবে choose করবে? From that minimum actually candidate key, which is a maybe a candidate for the key, we can say like this, they are the candidate for the key, then you have to pick up anyone. সেটা কি করবে, that is for up to your the developer's knowledge and other thing. Okay, so based on that thing you can just choose your primary key. That is the procedure. Actually, if you just go through my mail actually note, in several places I have discussed these three concepts, okay, clearly, so that you should have an idea what is the difference between these three. Okay, so these are not same thing, but you should have a very clear understanding of that thing. Now check the cover of the functional dependency. What is that? Cover actually A plus as a, you know that this is the closure of functional A plus as a complete set of information regarding the integrity constant. So if you just try to find out the A plus, that is closure of function, that is not the cover, this is closure of functional dependency. That means you you have identified a set of functional dependency, and then from that you can just try to find out the closure F plus. Okay, if you just, that means all possible non-redundant functional dependency, you can say that thing. Okay, then if you just try to find out, that means get that thing, that means you have all the information regarding the integrity constant. Okay, how you should implement the integrity constant in different table, that is clear to you if you can find it out. That can be extracted from the given set of dependency with the help of, so we have already seen the Armstrong rule. With the help of this, we can easily find out the F plus. But F plus may contain large number of dependency. Okay, sometimes it can happen that when you are creating the F plus from a set of dependency, it can be huge. I have already given an example for simply 3 attribute. If you try to find out all combination of the functional dependency, you almost like 35 or 45. Okay, so it can be huge, but most of them may be redundant. Okay, what do you mean by the redundant? You will find it out from the analyzing the data, analyzing the meaning of the attribute. You can find it out, no problem. But ultimately, anybody wants to talk? Okay, now if you really try to find out all the actually functional dependency, then you will find that some of the, or most of them are redundant in the sense that they can be inferred from other thing. Okay, so if it is inferred from other thing, that means the other integrity constant will also satisfy here. So naturally, what you have to do, you have to exclude that redundant thing, because otherwise it is a very big set and you will write lot of integrity constant, maybe that is not used, not at all used, or not required at all. Okay, if one constant is imposed, it means the other things will be also okay. Okay, so in the design point of view, we are more interested to find out the minimal non-redundant redundant set of FD than F plus. Amra ki the more interested that you have to find out the minimal non-redundant set of FDs, not the F plus. Okay, F plus will be the whole set, and that might be a very big. And not only that, we may not need to implement all these actually FD in the database. Okay, so you have to find out the minimal non-redundant set of FD. Okay, if it is, what is that, then let's try to define that thing. Okay, if F and G are 2 sets of FDs in a relation, F one set and G another set, and we say that F is cover of G if F plus and G plus are same. Might it say, suppose take an example, say F contains maybe the 3-4 attributes, or maybe 3-4, or maybe 100, okay, 100 functional dependency. And then ultimately you find out another set that is G, which contains maybe very few, 5 functional dependency. If you find that the closure of both the set is same, that means we can, then you can say G is a cover of C. That means G covers F. So you need not consider the F basically. You should consider only the actually functional dependency which is in F, G, not in F. Okay, so F covers G, we can say that F is equivalent. That means both the thing are equivalent. So you have to take only the less functional dependency. Okay, not the huge one. Okay, now just take an example. Okay, consider a relation. Publication is a relation. These are the different attributes of this publication. Okay, if you just try to find out by actually understanding the meaning and other things, okay, data checking and all those things, I find out these are the functional dependency, F1, F2, F3, F4. What is that? Generally subject and number of page, okay, depends on publisher, title and year. Okay, author, publisher, title and year. Price is definitely subject and number of pages. If it's a hot topic, then naturally price will be high, depending upon the number of page. And price is also dependent upon the publisher, title and year. Okay, I find out this thing by understanding the meaning and all those things. Mind it, it's not that there is any rule. Actually, from your domain knowledge, okay, you have to really, and talking to the user, you try to understand that, okay, why price is varying, okay, then naturally you find out that if subject and number of page is different, okay, price is also different. In this way, you are basically trying to find out. I have found out this four, okay. Now that naturally I can say what is the functional set of functional dependency. F is F1, F2, F3. That means it is given. We can say that you have identified, so it is given. Now, if I try to find it out, you have all these functions, we'll see that this F covers the set this. Because F4 itself can be inferred from F1 and F3 by transitivity. If you just see, actually, now we have to apply all Armstrong rule one by one. If you just see here, F1 and F3. What is F1? This is F1. What is F3? This is F3. So if you just see, this depends on this and this depends on this. What does it mean? That means price depends on this. Okay. So naturally, I can say this is a redundant one. I can discard that thing. Try to think that it is only a 4. So by seeing, you can find it out. No problem. But say if there is, say, you have 100, actually 100 or 200 functional dependency you have identified. Okay. Now by seeing and checking is very difficult job. Okay. And that is the reason you should have some algorithm through which you can apply that thing, apply one by one FD, and ultimately reduce it to a non-redundant set. Okay, so for that you basically need the cover. So we can say that G is F covers G, okay, and G is less. That means I have discarded one, which is redundant one. Okay, so in this way, actually, if we need know the cover, then also you can be used to just discard the minimal, actually redundant thing, and try to find out the most appropriate FDs. Okay. What is another term is that what is minimal cover? In a cover of given set of FDs, say A, there might be further redundancy in the set of FDs in the form of redundant attribute in the determinant side. So you have find it out the cover. Okay. Cover of this thing, say suppose I have covered this. G is at my cover. I have the F covers this, so I took that thing. But it can also happen that the left hand side of this particular FD, actually FD, there might be some redundant attribute. Okay, if there is some redundant attribute, say naturally I have to reduce that redundancy also. Okay, if it is so, then we just try to find out after reducing that thing. That means if you just reduce that redundant attribute also from the left hand side of the cover, then we can say that cover will be the minimal cover. Okay, now just say that means what I can say here, that formally you can define G plus equal to F plus. That means if you just find out the closure of the cover set and actual dependency and they are equivalent, and the right hand side of each FD in G is a single attribute. That means after finding all the non-redundant FD which is in G, okay, then you check whether the right hand side of FD is a single attribute or not. And then, and G is minimal, that is if you remove any of the attributes, you understand the minimal cover. That means in the ultimately in the minimal cover, that is not the only the removal of the redundant frequency, it is also checking whether there is a redundant attribute in the left hand side or not. It will then automatically just delete that thing. This is the procedure of basically finding out the minimal cover. Actually here I have used the same minimal membership algorithm here, just modified something. Okay, I have discussed that thing with an example. Please go through in and try to understand, because I did not cover everything because it is very tedious. Okay, but I have explained every line. Okay, so I hope that you will be able to understand. I've given the complete example of that thing, how to find out the minimal cover. Okay, and you just apply this algorithm on your own and try to understand that part. Okay, I'm not continuing further on the functional dependency. Rather, I will switch over the next topic, that is normalization. What happens? Okay, now let's start the new topic, that is normalization. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Acha, ठीक है. Okay. Let's start the normalization. This is the new one. So functional dependency part, more or less, actually we have discussed in full length, and I have provided all the concepts so that you can understand the normalization part in better way. Okay, I have already shared that note, so naturally you can just go through it. And only one type of functional dependency I have not yet discussed. I will discuss that part while I will just cover the fourth, fifth, and sixth normal form. Okay. So here, basically, let's start the normalization. What is normalization and why it is so important? Actually, normalization is, you can say, one of the vital step of database design. You have already seen that how we are basically ultimately going to design a database. From your study, you are capturing the information, then you are representing this information into the ER diagram and ultimately giving a shape of individual relation. Okay, but that is not all. After identifying the relation also, you might find that that relation might not satisfy the data integrity or consistency thing. Okay, so what is wrong in that thing and how to resolve that thing? Okay, that is basically, actually, normalization is helping us to do that thing. Okay, so what is normalization? And this, let's see that thing. What is our objective of creating any database? That I want that it should be consistent and it will always provide me integrated data. Query always gives some integrated result. Okay. Now let's see that what are the other different problem can come. Okay. Actually, they say, suppose take an example of that thing, example, and then try to understand. Say, suppose I have this actually thing, I have designed one table that is step student, and in that table you have decided to keep name, address, and subject and grade. Okay, from the analyzing the requirement, you have found that the student is taking lot of subject, and you have to also actually capture the grade of individual subject and all other things. By understanding all the requirement, you have proposed a table. Okay, like this. And in the ER diagram, I found we have proposed a table with this attribute. Now, just if you just see that particular thing, okay, there might be, actually, you have imposed lot of integrity constants. Say whether they maybe something is combination of maybe name and subject is a key, and all those things are there. But still, there might be some problem. Just see what are the different type of problems or anomaly can occur when you are working or operating on that particular table. That means you are doing lot of insert, update, or delete operation on the table, and in that process it can generate lot of anomaly. So what different type of anomaly it can generate if your table structure is not appropriate? First, let's see that thing, and then we'll see that how the normalization is basically help us to remove those anomalies. Okay, if you just see this thing, see this table, one thing is that the redundancy is a problem here, because if you just add a student and if you really wants to add the grade and other students, okay, so no need to basically repeat. If it is subject one grade, if you are recorded, the next subject to grade also you have to add the address field also. Otherwise, you have to keep the address null. That is also dangerous. So you have to repeatedly actually keep the address in the record. That means you are generating some redundancy. Okay, whether it is good or bad, that I will not tell now. But only thing is that there is a redundancy, and you know that if there is a redundancy, then inconsistency might arise. Okay, and update. This is basically redundancy problem. So that means you are keeping the particular information repeatedly in the table, which is unnecessary. Okay, not only it is basically dangerous, it is also actually consuming lot of space in the database. Okay, now let's see the what are the update anomaly. We may update the address in one tuple. Okay, in one record, say there are 5 subject you have taken, so 5 grade you have got. Okay, and 5 times you are repeating the address. That means in that particular database you have 5 records. Okay, now just say suppose suddenly you have changed your address and you have informed that to institute. Okay, so now naturally I have to change the address with the help of some application. Okay, what does it mean? That means I have to just check and update all the 5 records. If due to any reason I forget to update one record, that means it will generate the inconsistent result. That means one application, if he hit the first record, he might get the address, actual right address, but the 5th record can give the wrong address, and that is not acceptable. There is a insert anomaly also. It is not possible to record address of the student unless he has registered for at least one subject. Now you just see that thing when you are inserting record, you need the subject and grade also in addition to address. But while you are registering into the institute, okay, that time the subject, which grade is not immaterial. But I should keep your information to the database. But I cannot do this thing without knowing your subject and grade. Okay, so naturally that is that can create an insert anomaly. We may insert a different address when a new tuple indication has okay. So at the same time, what is happened when inserting the another record, okay, it might with another subject of the same student, it might happen due to some operation might have given the wrong address. So naturally, what is happening? The same student but different address. That type of problem. This is basically called, if you just do the insert operation on the table, you can generate this type of anomaly, and that is the reason these are called the insertion anomaly. And another is the deletion anomaly. If you drop a student, all the subject in which he is registered and student address will be automatically deleted. Now you just see if you just drop that particular student, that means his address information is also missing. But it might happen that after you leave the institute, I might need to contact you for different purpose. Okay, so unnecessarily I am deleting the record as well as I am deleting all of your information which might be required in future. Okay, and that is basically creating the deletion of anomaly also. So if your table, from this very simple example, you can understand that if your set or the relation cannot take appropriate column, okay, these 3-4 types of anomaly, okay, update anomaly, insert anomaly, and deletion anomaly occur, okay, and the redundancy also occur. Okay, the objective of this normalization is basically just remove this thing from the database. Okay, so database design goal is what is that? Represent the user data by relation that do not create anomaly. That is our design objective. Okay, so you cannot only just design it. There should be some objective for every job. Okay, the designer who is designing the database, their objective is that you should actually design the table in such a way that it should not create the anomaly when you are doing operation on the data. Okay, that is also a very important objective. So we have to fulfill that thing. This can only be achieved by careful analysis of integrity constant, especially database analysis. And not only that, in addition to that, you need to just appropriately grouping the attribute. Okay, because if you just see attribute, most of the time they are naturally grouped. A student record, we know that these are the record, because you can get those information during your registration in the institute. I got these are basically group related to that particular object, so naturally it is uh, okay, naturally it is together. Some of the application, your grade, okay, your subject, that is your information, so you can think everything as a group. But in the if you just keep everything in one table like this, as I have shown this thing, it can generate a lot of problems. So it is not always wise that you just take that natural group and create a table. Okay, so what that can generate all this type of problem. Okay, okay, so naturally what we have to, this is mainly based on the understanding of me. Okay, that's okay. Now there should be some formal measure to find out the how we can ensure the design goal. That means, as the attributes are naturally in a group, it does not mean that you can take all the attribute and create a table. Okay, so maybe the ER diagram is showing that this particular object, student object, needs this attribute. Fine, and the ER's part of view, point of view, it is okay, but it is not okay in the normalization point of view, but ultimately design objective point of view. Okay, so what you have to do, I need to know some formal measure how to check whether that particular relation is appropriate or not. That means you are considering the group appropriately or not, so that there should not be any anomaly. Okay, there should be some formal way of doing that. Okay, because by seeing only the data and just seeing their nature, that it is a naturally group, we cannot take that decision that it should be kept in a one table. Okay, then you will find out a lot of problems. This formal measure is basically nothing but the normalization. Okay, this normalization is basically providing us some guideline, and with the help of the guideline, if you just create our table, then you will find that those type of anomaly will not occur while you are doing operation on that particular database or table. Okay, so let's formally try to define the normalization. Normalization is a systematic way of ensuring that a database structure is suitable for general purpose querying and free of certain undesirable characteristics. Those are the undesirable characteristics. That means insert, update, and deletion anomaly that could lead to a loss of data integration. Okay, so that is a formal definition. That means it is a systematic procedure, systematic way to understand, to ensure that the data structure is suitably designed so that it can avoid all these anomalies. Okay, that is the thing. Okay, so what is that actually process? Okay, what is the process? In this process, what we do generally, we successively decompose the table to reach tables with fewer columns with proper relationship, which will make data retrieval and insert, update, and deletion operation more efficient and eliminate data redundancy and reduce the chance of inconsistency. That means if no anomaly, those type of anomaly occur during the operation, there is no chance of inconsistency. Okay, because when you are designing, okay, you should design, you just keep the data in the such a way that should not be inconsistent. Okay, so naturally the objective, so the process is that you have to, if you really just create a table, after creating, that means picking up all the column, attribute of the table and imposing the constraint. Okay, if you just see that there is still some chance of actually anomaly, creating the anomaly, and ultimately the data can be inconsistent. Okay, then you have to, what you have to do, you have to decompose. That means divide the table into smaller table. Okay, in this way, what ultimately we can reach that small table basically. Maybe your student record, you can think that there should be only one table for the student, but ultimately, if you really want to avoid all this type of anomalies during the operation of the database, then you can think that it should be divided. All this information should be divided into 3 table or 4 table. Then you should do that thing. Actually, how many tables, how to divide, all those things is basically guided with the help of the normalization process. And we'll discuss those things one by one. Okay. Now, what is normal form? This is basically normalization process. That means it is nothing but if you really just design a table, then it's try to think whether there is a chance of anomaly during the operation or not, then divide it. How many parts? Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it may be. Okay, by as per the guideline provided in the normalization procedure. Okay, actually we'll just see all this procedure one by one. Okay, guidelines. So database community has developed a series of guidelines for ensuring the data as normalized. If you just ensure that it should be normalized, okay, then you have to follow those series of guidelines. Okay, and these guidelines is basically called the normal form. Okay, there are basically 7 normal forms exist. Okay, that is first normal form, second normal form, third normal form, voice code normal form, fourth, fifth, and sixth. Okay, here in our syllabus we cover up to 5. Okay, but in practical sense, basically, most of this case will find that up to 3 normal form is more than sufficient. And in very complicated database, rarely that problem occurs, which might need your BCNF and 4NF. Okay, okay, and 5NF, 6NF may not actually you encountered in your lifetime. Okay, while you are designing the database, but it is not unnatural. It can also occur. Okay, that is the reason the up to third normal form when you design any database, up to third normal form you have to apply. Okay, and that as per the guideline you have to actually design the table so that there should not be any chance of anomaly. But still, if you find that in some rare cases for some data, some type of anomaly is occurring, then you have to think whether you need to apply further normal form or not. Okay, and that is the reason this first 3 is very important. I'm not saying that these are not important. Only thing is that it is rarely used in the practical field. Okay. Now let's see what is first normal form. This is a starting point, so naturally it is basically giving some guideline. It is that is the reason we can say it's a minimal thing. Okay, it is not covering all guidelines. You can say that why it is not basically providing all the guideline in one shot and provide only one normal form. Okay, actually what will happen is that sometimes you might design a database which might not require to apply all the guidelines. Okay, and that is the reason they have provided a minimal guideline, and then actually gradually it is basically adding more and more guidelines. If you don't require, you don't apply. Okay, if you really think without the third normal form your database can just survive, that cannot generate any anomaly, fine, no problem, then you need not this. But generally speaking, on the basis of our actually experience, we find that when we are practically basically trying to design any database, up to three normal form is necessary. Okay, now let's see what it is saying. As per DET's definition, you know that DET is actually in this field is one of the pioneer. Okay, so as per his definition, he has given the definition of normal form is like this, that it is first, a table is a first normal form if and only if it is isomorphic to some relation. What is the meaning of that isomorphic to some relation? Actually, he is saying that it should follow this condition. What are those conditions? There is no top to bottom ordering or rows, ordering to rows, and left to right ordering to the columns. Okay, that means when you are creating a relation in the relation database, that means a table, There is no meaning of ordering of row or column. Sometimes, say, suppose you are asking that if you just add a one column, okay, after that you are adding the next column, after that you are adding the third column. What does it mean? It is storing one by one like this sequence? No, at all. Ordering is not at all important. So that means that is a relation which contains lot of attribute, lot of rows, data. But ordering is not important at all. There is no ordering thing. Then only you can say it is a relational database. Find it. If it is a ordering, say like just take an example. Say if it is say suppose I have already discussed the view. View is basically nothing but generating some data based on that table. Okay, by executing the SQL form. But most of the cases in the view, we use the ordering clause to show the data in a certain order, column in one by one after one by one like this in the select clause. Okay, in that sense, basically, when you consider the view, it is violating the first normal form because it is maintaining the ordering. Okay, but in a particular in a relation, basically, when if it is actually in a relation in a relational database, there is no actually ordering of the row or column. It is not important at all. Okay, and what is the next one? There should not be any duplicate rows. This is the first one of the primary condition. And that is the reason if you just see that most of the cases when you are creating the data, okay, we are creating a primary key, okay, so that there should not be any duplicate row. Okay, actually in modern database, relational database, actually these two things is automatically imposed. Okay, when you are trying to create that thing, most of the cases when you are using the visual tools and all those things, if you don't actually specify any primary key, it will give an error. It will or warning that there is no primary key in the table. Okay, so naturally it is automatically enforced into the while you are creating the database. Okay, every row and column intersection contains exactly one value. This is the most important one. Either value, one value or none. It cannot contain more than one value. What is that? That I will discuss because this point is very important and most of the cases nowadays, basically, everybody thinks that this is the main thing of the first normal form. Okay, there should not be any non-repeating column, non-repeating value or multiple columns. Say suppose take an example that the particular student might have more than one phone number. Okay, so naturally when you are designing the table, what is your suggestion? How to keep that phone number? Maybe it can be that you suggest that there should be one column in the phone number and every phone number should be kept there with this comma separation. This is one solution because most of the time we always also do that thing in the Excel and other thing. And other solution might be that in one, if there is two column, okay, you two phone number, you just separately keep the two column, phone number one, phone number two. But all these are basically ultimately we are going to see that thing that how to implement that is different issue. But this first normal form is saying that should not keep either this one or this one. That means either multiple columns, same information, multiple column, or just clubbing it together and put it to a column. Okay, both there you should not actually do any of these things. That means no repetition of information or values in the multiple column. If it is there, that means that it is violating the first normal form. Okay, all the column are regular, and that is also another criteria. That is, it should be that you should not use any hidden color component such as row ID, object ID, all those things. Now, violating of any of these condition would mean that the table is not strictly relation, and then therefore it is not in first normal form. Nowadays, most of the cases you'll find that we are more strict on this thing because designer point of view, you have to ensure this. Okay, and these two, three part, these two, the one, two, and third part, that is automatically imposed while you are creating the thing. So that is the designer point of view. You have to check if a particular information is repetitive, then you have to think how to keep that value in the table. Okay. Okay. Now with the help of example, we'll see that actually if there is a repeated value, how should I keep so that we can obey the first normal form. What it is saying that should not keep the repeated information in a single column or multiple information distributed in what are the different type of problem can occur, okay, and how to resolve that thing. Okay, now let's see, I take an example and try to understand. I have a customer information, I create a customer table, customer ID, first name, second name. And I considered that customer can have two. Initially, when I discuss with the customer, actually our user, they have to, yes, each customer can have maximum two telephone numbers. So what I have done, I have created the table like this. Telephone numbers column, if you just see that the second customer has two telephone number, but first customer has a one. Just see the thing. Here, unnecessarily, most of the cases, it might be the only one phone number. What does it mean? You are wasting the lot of space also. That is another point. Okay. Now, I want to just create the table in this way. But the telephone number is not we can sometimes call repetitive or atomic, not atomic. That means not a single thing or a scalar, sometimes we call that. So naturally it is not. So it is a repeated information appearing in a particular column. So naturally it is violating that first normal form. Now let's say what is the problem here, that a query such as which pairs of customers share a telephone number is very difficult to say. Suppose there is only one customer telephone number which is shared by two two customers. Then it's very difficult with the help of that particular phone number find out who are sharing. That is very difficult to write in the query. Say sometimes you say that in the big office there are small cubicles for small office. Okay, and most of the cases, some of them are sharing a particular common telephone number. So if you keep the information in this way, it is very difficult to find out if this is the telephone number. Can you say who are the clients using this telephone number? That type of query is very difficult. So here, so if you that means if it is not basically it is generating some issue, what we have done, we just take this approach. That means I am keeping the three telephone number. Why three here? Because two is more than sufficient, but for future option I just keep a three. Okay, in future if any customer has provided it another new one, then I need, for that reason I have given the first. So that means what does it mean? You are wasting this space, mind it. Not only here, also you are doing that same thing. Okay. So here also, if you find that the difficulty in querying the table, answering such questions that which customer has telephone number X, it's also very difficult, because for that particular customer X is appearing here, but for this first customer, that but the same telephone number may appear here. I am just not, it is not necessary that you have to always keep that in its telephone number one. Okay, that is the choice of data entry operator. So naturally that then in that case, it's very difficult to write the SQL to find out this type of satisfy this query. And another is inability to enforce uniqueness of customer to telephone number link. It is also very difficult. Okay, say like customer 789 might mistakenly be given the telephone number 2 value, that is exactly the same hard telephone number 1, because as there are two fields already there, somebody has given the telephone number here, same telephone number again here. Okay, that is another problem. And here basically I'm restricting to give 3 telephone number, but in future if I find that there is one customer which is coming with 4 telephone number, how to do? Okay, so naturally I have to break the table. I have to again incorporate another telephone number in the table, and if already say suppose 1 million customer recorded already there, is very difficult. Lot of management job will be there, managerial work will be there. Okay, so naturally maintenance work rather will be there. So it's not feasible that you should keep the telephone number either this way or this way. Okay, then what is the way? That is basically decomposition. What the normalization procedure is saying, that if you see that the guideline is not followed by the table, okay, that means here I am saying that the first normal form guideline is not followed by the table, then what I do, I create two tables here, maybe two or three. Here in this case I have just divided this into two tables, but I know that the telephone number is giving the problem. Okay, so I keep the telephone number in a separate table. Okay, separate, keep this thing in a separate table. So naturally, how to identify the telephone number? The customer ID is needed. So naturally, I can decide that this particular table contains telephone number and customer. What is the primary key? That only customer ID cannot be the primary key. So combination of this is a primary key. In this way, I just decompose the whole table introduce a new table for the telephone number. Okay, and the other table should actually contain the other customer information, the customer ID, first name and last name. That means the main purpose is that you have to find out which are the column which is creating that issue. That means actually repeating the value in a particular thing. Then you just take that particular column, okay, and primary key of the other column and create a separate table. That is basically main thing. Okay, in this way, if you just create that thing, you will just see that all the problem has vanished. Okay, so this is the actually then you can say that if there is the table does not contain any repeating value, then I can say that this is obeying the first normal form. Okay, now come to the second. This is the first thing. That means after achieving, mind it, you cannot actually bypass any normal form. If you really want to achieve or to apply the guideline of the second normal form, first you have to apply the first normal form. If you achieve that thing, that means the table is the first normal form, then only you think that check that whether it is second normal form or not. If it is not, then I'll then try to just bring it to the second normal form. So any table that is in the second normal form or higher, anyhow, when it is a third, then you always, by definition, basically, it is satisfying the first normal form also. Okay, that means if you really achieve the second normal form, you can say that is you have achieved all the lower level. That means from the first to anything. Okay, if you are achieving the third normal form, that means you have to achieve the first, second, and third. You cannot jump to the third. Okay, that is not feasible also, and it is not possible also. So you have to first apply the first normal form, achieve that thing, then guideline of the second normal form, achieve that thing, then guideline. Third, in this process you have to go. Now let's try to understand what is second normal form, and after first normal form, what type of problem can be there, so that we need to apply the second normal form. Just take an example here that I have the email ID. Okay, email ID, first name, this email, you know that more than one email ID can be there. Okay, as per that means email can be also a repeated value. Okay, so in the as per the first normal form, what we have, they have suggested that you cannot keep it in side by side or in two different columns. So what I have done, I have to create the two record for two email ID. So you just see, so my customer record will be like this. And here, if you just see, in the earlier case, the customer ID was the primary key. But here, you cannot use the customer ID as a primary key, because this is actually, there are two records for the same customer. So the combination of these two should be the primary key. Okay, primary key is the customer ID and this. Now just try to understand what type of problem can occur here. Say like here, if you just see that thing, you have updated the record of Babita. Babita Kulkarni is his surname, and after his marriage, her marriage, okay, she had changed the surname. Now you have to change both the things. Okay, surname should be both, but when he has informed this information, he has referred his ID, this ID. So using this ID and this customer ID, will only hit that record and you change it. But this will be untouched. That what does it mean? And subsequently in the later stage, if you really want to know the what is Bobita's name, full name, you will get in two places two different things. Again, it is creating basically inconsistency. Okay, so naturally this type of problem after achieving the first normal form also, okay, when you are basically non-repeating thing, you have just appropriately managed by applying the first normal form rule, there is some problem, okay, exist into the table, and for that, yeah, it can happen that you have the database can go to the inconsistent state. Okay, now let's examine what is the problem and why this problem is there. Okay, especially a first normal table is in second normal form if and only none of its non-primary prime attributes are functionally dependent on a part of the candidate key. Why this type of problem occurs? First, let's try to understand that thing. Say, suppose the primary key, these are the key. Okay, uh, besides the key, this key attribute, all other attributes are called the non-prime attribute. Okay, these are the basically prime attribute and these are the non-prime attribute. Okay, understand? So now you just see that thing. What is the characteristic or functional dependency here? The non-prime attribute, that means name, first name and surname, okay, depends upon a subset of prime attribute. Just see that thing. It should depends upon the okay. Now it is basically what this name depends upon this subset. Actually depends upon not the whole key but the subset of the key, and that is the reason it is happening. So this is my key, okay, and I have aspired that particular key, definition of the key. That means other attribute depends upon the that particular key. But here, if you just see that thing, the name basically depends upon a subset, either this or this. Okay, okay, that basically creates the problem here. Okay, so here the first name and surname are non-prime attribute. They are functionally dependent on part of the primary key, that is either customer ID or email. Because if you know email, then you can find out this thing. Or if you just know the actually employee ID, you can find out his name. Okay, he is our name. Okay, for finding out the name part, you need not require both the thing. That means what does it mean? In the functional dependency point of view, we can say that this part depends on either this attribute or this attribute. Okay. Now actually that is the problem. Okay. So second, so note that when first normal form has no composite primary key, candidate key. Now this key, why this type of problem can occur? Because in my table, after achieving the first normal form, I got a primary key which is a composite key. But if the table is, there is no composite key at all, then what will happen? Then automatically it will go to this second normal form. Okay, so if there is, that means after achieving the first normal form, if you just see that the table contains a composite key, then you have to think whether there is this type of problem can occur or not. If it is this type of problem, there is a chance of this type of problem, then you apply the second normal form. So that is the only indication that if the after achieving the first normal form, if you find out that non-prime attribute depends upon part of the prime attribute, not the whole, okay, then there is a chance of problem. Okay, then you have to apply the second normal form. Okay, now just take another, here I have discussed another problem also, and different type of queries from that thing also, you will understand that this type of problem can occur. Okay, So if you really find that okay, these are actually good here. So if you just really think that that type of problem can occur, then only what you have to do, you have to just divide, again decompose this thing. Just take, okay, now just take this example. With the help of this example, we can try to actually understand the full procedure. I have discussed a lot of other example also. You just go through this thing. Let's say this example, you just see that thing. Another example here that say here what I have done. I have recorded the. I want to record the skill of the employee. So I have created the employee skill table. Okay. And here what I have done, these are the three information I am keeping: employee, their skill, and current working location. Okay. Now you just see that here in this table also, this is the primary key combination of this, because there might be one particular employee might have more than one skill. So naturally this is the primary key. And the so although the as the employee are saying, so naturally I am repeating the address. Okay, same address but repeating. So naturally, again the update anomaly can occur here. Okay, update or deletion anomaly can occur. Okay, now just see redundant information I have provided. So naturally, these are all redundant information. So this one main stream 114 main stream is repeating here. So naturally redundant information, and this can create the update anomaly. So now that thing, so the query what is the Jones current work location may give inconsistent result, because if you just update this record but forget to update this one, then what will happen? The updation anomaly can occur. So to overcome this thing, again, why it has happened? You just see that thing, current working location. It does not depend on the skill. It depends on the employee, because employee is residing in that particular location, not a skill. So naturally, but you have designed a table where basically you are keeping the current working location also in that table, which means that current working location is not dependent on the full key, but part of the key, subset of the key. And that is the reason you are finding this problem. And so what you have to do, you have to just divide it. So, okay, that means you just keep the skill in different column. Okay, for the skill set, you create a different table, and there definitely you have to indicate the skill of which employee. So there should be an employee column also, as the employee can have more than one skill. So naturally, what we have to do, we have to create a composite key like this. Okay, and another table you just write where you can just say the employee and his current location. And if you just do that thing, the neither of these tables have just create the update anomaly, and there is no redundancy. Okay, so this is the thing. Actually, if we just achieve this thing, then we can just say that I have achieved the second normal form. That means after so in short, what we can say, that after achieving the first normal form, that means actually for repeating column, creating a separate table as per the guideline of the first piece. If you just see that the table contains a composite primary key, okay, and there are some non-prime attribute which depends on partly on the primary key, okay, not the full dependency on the primary key, then there is a problem, and it can generate a lot of problem, update anomaly and redundancy. So what you have to do, you have to just divide again. Second normal form is saying, now we decompose this thing, and you can decompose it in this way. Now you just see skill depends upon skill, and this both are basically prime. There is no non-prime record. Okay, and this is also plain thing. So naturally, in a way you can just say that if you achieve a result set, okay, or the relation where all these columns are prime column, okay, you can say that it has achieved the second normal form. Or the other thing is also, if you achieve a table which is basically actually in both the case definitely it is achieved, you can basically it is satisfying the first normal form. If you just get a table where there is prime column is not a composite key, here if you just see this thing, this is the prime column which is not a composite key, then you can see that a table is in second normal form. We have already achieved the first normal form, so ultimately after achieving the first normal form you have to arrive into a table, maybe one or more than one table, where you just observe these characteristics. Either it is there is a composite key, okay, composite key, and there is no non-prime row, non-prime column, or there is a table which basically contains a key which is not a composite key. So if you achieve that thing, then you can say that we have achieved the second normal form. I have given another example here. If you just see that thing, how you can divide this thing and create a second normal form. So this is the first and this is the second normal form. But after achieving the second normal form, also there might be some problem into this table, because not necessarily you will get everything like this or like this, only one column. Okay, in this table there might be more than one column. Okay, because there or in this table there might be more than one column, or you might not know what is there any dependency between the prime column or not. Okay, so there might be lot of other problems can come. So the third normal form will try to help you to resolve this problem. What third normal form is saying, that the relation R is a second normal form. First you have to achieve the second normal form. Okay, this is the prime criteria, prime guideline. And every non-key attribute R in is non-transitively dependent on the key of R. That means here, if you get a table, not the maybe single column, there might be more than one column. All the column should directly depend upon the primary key, not transitively depend upon the primary key. If there is a transitive relationship with the primary key, there is a chance that there might be some problem. So third normal form is basically saying, after achieving the second normal form, you check whether there is non all dependency is non-transitive or not on primary key. Okay, in a particular table, if you have a primary key and there are a lot of columns, okay, you have to ensure that all the columns are dependent on the primary key directly, not transitively. What do you mean by transitive dependency? Let's examine, then you will understand. What is that? Basically, A depends on B and B depends on C. Then as per the functional dependency, we can say that A depends on C. Okay, so naturally you can understand that if you have a prime column A and you have a attribute B, there is a direct relationship with the prime column. Okay, but here in that particular table, you know that the C, the other column, is also should be dependent upon A. Okay, because this is the prime column. But actually, if you just look into this data, you'll find that B, actually C depends on B. That means B is non-prime, C is also non-prime. So one non-prime column depends upon another prime column. What does it mean? Okay, if you just follow this rule, then what does it mean? C is also dependent on A, because we know that all the column in a particular table must depend upon the primary key. So it is not violating the first and second normal form. Okay, it is obeying the first normal form. But problem is that the C is not directly dependent on A. It is related transitively. Okay, as B is dependent on A, and C is dependent on B, that is the reason we are calling the C is also dependent on A. Okay, as this bolo.
স্যার বলছি that reverse is true, মানে ধরুন A dependent B, তাহলে B dependent A বলতে পারি?
না না না, সেটা বলতে পারবো না। হ্যাঁ, তুমি তুমি তোমার বাবার উপর ডিপেন্ডেন্ট, তুমি কি বলতে পারো বাবাও তো তোমার উপর ডিপেন্ডেন্ট, তাই না? সেটা করা যায় না। রিভার্স ইজ নট ট্রু, বাট ট্রানজিটিভ রিলেশনশিপ মে বি দেয়ার। ওকে ওকে, সো ন্যাচারালি দেখো তার মানে কি হচ্ছে, যে বি ডিপেন্ডস অন এ, সি ডিপেন্ডস অন বি, বি and C both are non-prime column. That is the reason we are saying that C depends on A, because as you have just achieved the second normal form, what are you saying basically? Non-prime column depends upon the prime column. Okay, how that is achieved? Here it is achieved with the help of transitive relationship. Okay, and that is the reason I am saying that C is also dependent on me. So the table is second normal form, that is fine, no problem. But in addition to the transitive, in addition to the in second normal form, there is a transitive relationship, and this transitive relationship can actually generate lot of issues. Okay, so that is the reason. Okay, if there is a transitive relationship, you have what you have to do. Again, third normal form is saying that you divide it and remove that transitive relationship. Okay, in that particular relation. Okay, now just take an example, then you try to understand it more detailed. So subject is a relation, and it has C number, C name, instructor, and office. That means what is the subject code, the course code, course name, who is the instructor, and what is the office of the instructor. Everything is there in the subject relation. I created a subject relation. Now that in this, assume that the C name is not unique. I am assuming that it is not unique. So what I have assumed that C number is my candidate key. Okay, so naturally you just see that if it is a actually candidate key, or maybe ultimately it can be a prime key, then we can say C number depends on C number. Instructor should also depend on this, and but okay, instructor is also dependent on C number, because you know that who is teaching depends upon the C, actually course number. Course number definitely dependent. But if you just see here, there is another relationship which is basically office depends on instructor, instructor's office. So naturally it will depend on instructor. So these three dependency exists in that particular table. And if you just see that thing, if you just see it first, that it is in second normal form, because there is no non-repetitive column, so it is satisfying the first normal form. And also we are achieving this thing that non-prime column depends on prime column. How we are achieving that thing? That C number, C name, C number, instructor is also dependent on C name. So by transitive relationship we can say, and office is also this. So naturally we can say office is also dependent on C number. What does it mean? All non-prime attribute depends upon the prime attribute. So it is in second normal form also. Okay, but only problem is that there is a relationship which exists, which is which is transitive relationship. We can derive office from the above. Okay, I have explained that thing. So it is second, but the relationship is not this third normal form, because there is not a direct dependency of office on C number. It is through transitive relationship. This transitive difference is an indication that the relation has information about more than one thing. Okay, if you have any transitive relationship in a table, definitely you have to think that you are trying to club information of two things in one table. Definitely here, if you just see that thing, the office is basically information about the instructor. That one kind, instructor is one object. You are basically trying to keep the information of the instructor. At the same time, if you just see this piece of information, is the course information. So two are two different objects. but you are somehow you are clubbing together and keeping all this information to a single relation, and that will create the problem. And what is the indication of that thing? If you find that after achieving the second normal form, if you find that there is a transitive relationship existing to the table, then there is a problem. Okay, so there is a information you are storing in a particular in a particular representation about more than one thing, and it is not permitted. It can create lot of problem. Okay, there is another type of definition is there. I have just specified that thing. You just try to. So let's see that with the help of example, how to basically what type of problem it can occur and how to resolve that thing. Okay, I have already in earlier example also I have covered this one. So you can just see the table. This is the table. Basically, you are recording the winner of a tournament in a particular tour. So this is the tournament winner table. You can say what are the thing information: tournament year, winner, and winner's date of birth you are storing. Okay. Now you just see that thing: tournament and year. This is the primary key. So definitely winner depends on this. But winner dates of birth, it is not dependent on tournament or year or combination of this thing, but it depends upon winner. Okay, so naturally, if you just see that thing, there is also winner depends upon this thing, primary key, and winner date depends upon this thing. So naturally, by transitive relationship, we can say that winner date of birth also depends upon this thing. If it is so, what does it mean? That the non-prime at all the non-prime attribute depends upon the prime attribute. Okay, so it achieved the second normal form, but how it is achieving? Because one of the non-prime attribute transitively depend upon the prime attribute. That is not permitted as per the third normal guideline. Okay, because see, if you just keep this information like this, it has a problem. Okay, it is not that as they are giving the guideline you have to follow. So now just see the problem: winner's date of birth, as this is regarding the winner's information, that means one object, and this is another object. This is basically tournaments information. We are clubbing it together. Okay, now what's the problem here? That just see the date of birth is appearing twice, same person but date of birth appearing twice. So when this particular tournament you are basically just entering, you can specify a date of birth, but for the same person you can specify the different date of birth. So subsequently, when you basically from this particular table try to find out what is the date of birth of this particular person, you can get the wrong information, inconsistent. That is the inconsistency. So the scope of inconsistency is there. Okay, and that is the reason what you have to do, you have to now define it again. Okay, so this is the transitive relationship. So now you just see what I will do, that I will just tournament, okay, year and winner, I will just keep it like there is no problem. It is, there is no transitive relationship. There is a plain this one attribute I have put that is fully dependent on this. So it is actually obeying all the normal form up to 3. And this is also, if you just see that if I just player and date of birth, I have keep it separately, then there is no chance of the no redundant information, no chance of update anomaly, and at the same time I have removed that transitive relationship. Okay, so in this way, that means ultimately what to achieve third normal form, what I have to do, I have to just divide the table and create another 2 table like this. Okay, not necessarily it is always 1 table or 2 table, it can be more than 1 table also. Okay, I have given another example here. You just think and try to achieve that thing. So one by one. So if you just summarize everything, what are the different guidelines? You have to start from the first normal form. Always try to think that normalization is not a tough thing to do. As per the normalization process, what does it mean that decompose the table? You decompose the table, that means from the 1 table, create maybe more 2 or 3 tables, 2 or more than 3 tables, and check whether there is a chance of inconsistency or anomaly. Okay, that is the only thing. So first thing is that you have to achieve the first normal form. That means most important thing here is there should not be non-repetitive value into the table. Okay, how we are managing that thing? Maybe by dividing that, creating a separate table. Okay, if it is a repeating value, because we have already, as per the first normal form here, seen that the non-repeating value cannot be kept in a single column or more than one column in a particular table. It can create lot of issues. Okay, so we just decided to achieve that thing by dividing that total table into two parts. Okay, then you have to apply the second normal form. Second normal form is saying that non-prime attribute should completely depend on the prime attribute, not partly. Okay, if you see that there is a part dependency, there is a problem which we have discussed. So what you have to achieve, that if there is a such thing exists in the particular table, after achieving the first normal form, then you divide again and try to achieve the second normal form. Most of the cases you will find that if you achieve the first normal form, okay, and after achieving the first normal form, if you see that the table does not contain any composite key at all, it is automatically, you can say it is automatically reached to the second normal form. Okay, until and unless there is a actually a composite key, there is no question that non-prime column will depend upon a part of the key. Okay, so naturally, if the after first normal form, if you find the table does not contain a composite key, it is automatically achieved. You automatically achieve the second normal form, and that is the reasons most of the practical work you will find that as soon as you achieve, just create the table, you are saying that there is no chance of applying the second normal form. Okay, it does not mean that the second normal form need not be used. Only thing is that when there is a composite key, then only you have to check whether the anomaly can occur or not and apply the second normal form. After achieving the second normal form, that means you are now sure that there is no repeated column, repeated value, and there is no non-prime column which is partly dependent on the prime column. You have achieved that thing, second norm. But still, you just see that if you examine that table and find that there is a transitive relationship between the non-prime column. Okay, and due to that transitive relationship, you are saying that non-prime column is dependent on totally on the primary key. If it is that type of situation, then there is a problem which indicates that you are trying to club two type of information in single table. Okay, that is also not permitted as per third rule, third normal form, because that can create a lot of issues, a lot of anomalies. So what you have to do, again you divide this. Okay, in this way you just achieve the third normal form. I hope that you have understood all those things.